Hello, my name is Barry Evans. I'm with Penn State University. In this unit, I will provide an introduction to MapShed, which is a GIS-based watershed modeling tool that was developed by my group at Penn State that can be used to estimate different types of pollutant loads from a given watershed. First, I'd like to give a brief history on MapShed. This package is essentially a watershed simulation model that is linked to a GIS package. The core simulation model that's used in MapShed is something called GWLF, which stands for Generalized Watershed Loading Function Model. This is a model that was originally developed at Cornell University. This is a model that we built into our modeling tool, and this has been substantially enhanced over the last 10 years or so, to the extent that it is now called GWLFE for enhanced. The initial modeling application was developed using a GIS package called ArcView, which is something that many of you might be familiar with. It's the precursor to the GIS package called ArcGIS or ArcInfo. In this initial modeling tool, since it was in ArcView, we called it AVGWLF. AVGWLF has been used by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and a number of other government research agencies and organizations since 1999. In around 2010, we decided that it might be useful to build this application using some non-commercial software, and we looked at reconfiguring this application using something called MapWindow, which is a programmable freeware. The first non-beta version of MapShed was released to the public by the end of May 2012. All right, now let's discuss some of the core components and functions of MapShed. As I said, MapShed is essentially a GIS package which has a model integrated into it. The GIS front end provides a pre-processor which is used to overlay and manipulate different types of GIS data sets and weather files and other information for the purpose of creating an input file or multiple input files for the core watershed simulation model that we mentioned earlier called GWLFE. Once this initial input file is created, the model can then be run with the prepared input file to estimate nutrient, sediment, and pathogen loads for any given watershed. The particular nutrients that are simulated include nitrogen and phosphorus. There are also a number of different ancillary tools that can be used to visualize, evaluate, compare model output, and do a number of other things. So the first thing that's done after installing the software is to open up what's something that's called a project manager. This is used to load in data to the GIS, our version of the GIS package called MapShed, which is a customized version of MapWindow. Data sets are loaded, and once they're loaded, they look something like this, which is very similar to ArcView. For some of those listening who may be familiar with that package. These data sets include things like weather, animal populations, point sources, streams, basin boundaries, septic systems, land use, and other things. Once the data sets have been loaded, one or more watersheds are selected for which processing is then executed. In this case, I've selected all of the subbasins shown on the screen, and they are highlighted as yellow. Once these are highlighted, the user is then required to answer a few additional questions about simulation period and growing season and so forth, and then says essentially OK. And at that point, the application begins to process this data for the purpose of creating the input file for the GWLFE model. Once the input model has been prepared, or the input file has been prepared, you then open up the GWLF model itself, which is a Visual Basic executable. You then can look at the data, which I'm showing on this screen. You have the option of reviewing different types of input data, including information on transport parameters, nutrient data, animal data, and other types of information pertaining to, or let's say that are important in terms of simulation. The user can edit this data if needed. Once the data is all set to go, and it may be edited or maybe not, depending on a particular application, you then run the GWLF model, give it a name, run the model, and various types of monthly and daily output are created. These are some of the forms that you can view output information with. Output is also written to a number of Excel files. This provides some flexibility in visualizing and graphing different types of data as well in Excel format. One of the important features of our enhanced version of the GWLF-E model is that the input data can be edited to reflect different levels of BMP implementation, BMP referring to best management practices. It's possible to basically simulate different levels of BMP implementation in both a rural lands or in urban lands. Once these assignments have been made in terms of how many units or how much area is covered by a different BMP, the model can be then rerun, and the results can be compared with the initial model run, presumably where BMP information has not been designated. This is very useful for trying to figure out what types of reductions can be made to reach certain target loads in any given watershed. What I have just covered are some of the basic features of MapShed. There are many other optional features, other interesting types of tools for visualizing and analyzing data. These are included in a user's guide that is available along with the software, and these can be downloaded at the website shown below, www.mapshed.psu.edu. This concludes this particular unit. Unit 2 will cover how to download and install the MapShed software.